Good afternoon, everyone. Carol here from aquahaven747.com. In my last video, I talked about decluttering and organizing photos, which can be a very sentimental subject. And then I moved on to my next project, which was spring cleaning my storage room down in the basement here. And it occurred to me that I have a lot of sentimental items down here as well. I've inherited things from my mom and my grandmother, and some things are really hard to get rid of. If you are struggling with downsizing sentimental items, then this video may have some helpful tips for you. So if that is something that interests you, then keep watching and I'll see you at the end. So here we are a few days later, and I am going to take another kick at doing this video. It is not an easy thing to do because it can be very emotional if you are trying to let go of things that used to belong to a loved one. So I am going to try and get through some of these tips to help you if you are trying to downsize or declutter sentimental items that you have got from your loved ones that have passed. Now, whether you have to clear out a loved one's home, whether that be an apartment or a house, and you need to do that fairly quickly and decide what you're going to do with everything, or whether you've had some things for a period of time, maybe some furniture or boxes in your storage area, you need to decide what your goals are for those things that you want to keep and the things that you want to get rid of. Do you want to sell some things and make some money? Or are you moving into a smaller location and want to just downsize? Maybe you're the family historian and there may be things in there that you want to keep for your future projects. Maybe there's some things that you've inherited that you'd actually like to incorporate into your daily life. So, what is the reason for you doing all this? And what is your end goal? My first tip is that you give yourself some grace. Try and go easy on yourself. It's not an easy thing to do to get rid of a loved one's belongings, especially if the passing is recent. As time goes by, it gets a little bit easier. But now you may not have a lot of time. If you're under a time constraint to empty out a loved one's apartment or get their house cleaned out and ready for sale, that really puts a lot more pressure on you. So, but if at all possible, give yourself some grace. A few years ago, when my mother passed, I was not ready to deal with all of her stuff. Now, I had to get her apartment cleaned out quickly, so I dealt with most of it in a pretty timely manner, and I'll get into a little bit more of that a little bit later in the video. But I had all her paperwork and boxes of little things all over my dining room table and all over my dining room for 6 months because I wasn't ready to deal with it. So giving yourself grace is very important, and it also kind of leads me to my next point. My second tip is that if it is at all possible, to give yourself some time to work through things. If you have some place that you can store things temporarily until you can get to them, I don't normally recommend that, but when it comes to dealing with a loved one's things, unless there's stuff that you absolutely know that you do not want and nobody in the family wants and you don't want to sell it, Yeah, find a place to store it and give yourself some time. For my third tip, now, if you do not have a place to store things until you can deal with them later, or if you don't have the money that you can pay for storage for a short term, then you need to break it down into easy, doable segments. What I mean by that is start with furniture, because furniture takes up the most amount of space. And, just go through each piece of furniture. Is it something that someone in the family wants? Is it something that you would want in your home? Can you make room for it that way? Is there something that is worth selling and getting a little bit of money for? Or is it in good condition? Can it be donated? Is it in bad condition? Does it need to go to the dump? So figure that out first. Start with the largest items, and then you can work your way down. After going through the furniture, then go through household accessories, things that aren't necessarily overly sentimental, but they're very practical. And same process, figure out if it is something that anyone in the family would want, can use, or if it is in good condition. Is it something you want to sell? Is it something you want to donate? Or if it's in bad condition, if it needs to go to the dump, or try and recycle as much as possible, but there will be aware that there probably will be some trash. Now, after you have sorted out the unsentimental things like the furniture and accessories, you may come across some of those things that actually are sentimental, that are family heirlooms that you want to keep in the family. So you can at least have them sorted so you know you definitely want to keep those. You definitely want to store them until they end up wherever they're going to end up going. And I know photographs, as I mentioned in my last video, they are very sentimental. And if you're the family historian, you may want to hang on to a lot of interesting papers and things too. So if you can, by all means, take your time. You don't have to do everything right away. If you can, find a little bit of space for a box or two of that kind of stuff, then, that is totally fine. When it comes to paperwork, whether you're the executor or not, you may have to provide information for an executor to deal with all the financial aspects of someone's passing. I would keep those, try and organize them as you find them, keep them together so that they can be sorted out. Now, if you are still going to be storing your sentimental inherited items, please make sure they are stored safely. Have them in a climate-controlled environment if that's what they need. Possibly use those big Rubbermaid bins for smaller items that are waterproof and bug-proof. You may even want to put some things in a fire-safe box. Finally, as I look around my house, I see a lot of sentimental inherited items. I've made shadow boxes with a few things. I made a family tree scrapbook with some old photos and certificates and things. I have a few small items spread throughout the house on bookshelves and whatnot. I just kind of blend in with the new things. And I even have a couple of pieces of furniture that my grandmother used to own, and they have come with me to every home that I have been in since I moved out of my parents' home. Well, if you've made it to the end of the video here, I thank you so much for watching. And if you would please comment below, how are you honoring the memories of your loved ones with your sentimental inherited items?